Good morning peoples, it's bright and early, 7 AM in the morning, and I am doing my 15-week update. I had a scare. I recorded most of the scare. It was probably going to be its own video, but I got to try and go through my phone and get all the videos off that. But I had a bleed. It was the smallest little thing. It was really nothing, but it freaked me out even though I knew it was probably perfectly fine. And it was. Bub seems fine. Bub has been fine since. I'm definitely feeling kicks. They're very few and far between and very small little ones, most of them. I mean, they're all small compared to what they'll end up being, but I'm definitely feeling kicks, which is really cool. I also picked up Bub's heartbeat on my Doppler really loud and really clearly. I'll put in the video of that. Hayden was really grumpy, so just ignore him, but this is the video. You hear that? Who's that? No? He keeps kicking and making it really loud. My reflux has started to show its head. Its ugly head, is that the saying? Show its ugly head? It's not too bad. It got so bad I took 2 Rennie to get to sleep and then I was okay. And I've been avoiding eating things I know set it off since. Other than that, I've been okay. I've had a lot of aches and pains, a lot of constipation issues. They haven't gotten too bad, but hey. But they've been there and happening. And we got to see Bub 2 days ago. It was meant to be like a family ultrasound. We booked it in back in August. Mum had forgotten. I hadn't told Grandma, who was meant to come up. I hadn't told anyone. And so only Mum could come, and even she'd forgotten. So it was just lucky she didn't have anything on. She was almost at the hairdresser's, but she left in time. And we got to see Bub. He was really cute. Hayden got to see Bub in, like, not just a picture, but moving for the first time. And that was cute for 2 seconds. His attention span then went on to the lights in the room and all that stuff happening. Bub is definitely a boy. That is not incorrect. So we got 2 blood tests and an ultrasound all confirming his gender. Don't think we got going wrong there. Now let's get into the fun stuff. When I first got pregnant, got pregnant sounds weird. I had my first bloods. They were fasting bloods and my glucose came back as 5.1. It has to be 5 or under for fasting bloods when pregnant. In pregnancy it's a little different to normally, so if you've got anyone that or know anything about diabetes, these numbers aren't going to specifically be the same. They also change based on where you are in the world, in the state and all that sort of stuff, I've realized. But for in WA, for in gestational diabetes at the moment, 2021, there has to be 5, I think it's millimolar or millimoles or below for fasting. Mine was 5.1. And then a couple of days ago I get this text message from the hospital, and basically my doctor has sent my referral to the hospital where I'm giving birth, and then they came back and said, and she just sent the referral as in for me to give birth there, that side of things. She didn't send a referral for gestational diabetes. But I got a message saying, "Hi, Storm Mackenzie, we have received a referral for gestational diabetes. Please call Armidale Hospital to arrange appointment on blah blah blah." So I went in and saw my GP. I was already gonna see her every couple of weeks. And she basically was like, "That's weird. I sent through your general referral, not your gestational diabetes referral. We haven't even done your glucose tolerance test." So what must have happened is they've received my referral, gone through my referral, seen my high or my possible GD diagnosis, and automatically they've put me into the GD group. I then got sort of last minute chucked into a group class yesterday. I mean, it was probably helpful for everyone else, but it was like excruciating for me. I was in so much pain from just sitting down for 2 hours straight. Once I got out of the class, I went up to reception and tried to figure out what was happening, whether or not they'd actually got my referral, and they had the morning before. So obviously my suspicions were right. They got my referral and then put me straight into GD before actually giving, well, they sent it via mail. So that's probably why I got the text message first, but I'm probably not going to get my referral for a while. She printed it out. I honestly don't think this is going to come in the mail in time anyway, so that's great. And I really hope I can get into the MGP. Basically at the hospital, to just go the, like, not necessarily normal, but like the base main pathway. You go through public, you get an obstetrician and a midwife, but they change with each appointment. You might get the same one multiple times, but like you just sort of book the appointment and then whoever's available will see you at the hospital. The other way you can do it is to enroll for the MGP, which I definitely want to do because I did it with Hayden. And they are, you get enrolled with, or you get like assigned to a small group of 2 or 3 people. It was 2 when I went, but they said they were going to try and make it 3. Probably for reasons such as my birth with him. But basically you get 2 or 3 people, so you get to know those 2 or 3 people. Usually you have a main one. If something happens, someone else is in labor or they're sick or something happens, you know that you're gonna have at least one of them at your birth. Unless your birth goes for 27 hours and you only have 2 and you go through both their shifts. That's all booked in, and I want to go through MGP again, and I really hope I can get in. And then there's the glucose thing. Alright, so he's really pushing into me. What we learnt was a very termed, very basic version of what diabetes is, what gestational diabetes is, why it occurs, and then what can happen if you have gestational diabetes to you and your unborn baby. And then once we learned all that, we then went on to see a nutritionist talk to us for an hour, and she went through how much we're meant to be eating, what food groups contain carbohydrates, how to measure serving sizes, how to look at food labels, that sort of stuff. And I obviously already know all this. Basically, the first hour was just learning about gestational diabetes. I literally last semester and multiple times in the past have done a challenge with sheep where we inject some of them with insulin, some of them with adrenaline, and measure their insulin, adrenaline, and glucose levels and how they change. I've gone a lot further. I know like the complete pathways and how all the different pathways interact. Obviously my baby brain is like, oh no, you're not going to remember this right now, but I know a lot of detail on not so much diabetes, but the pathways of glucose and how insulin works and how insulin resistance works and all that sort of stuff. Most people wouldn't know this, so I'll just sit here and I'll just go through it. I thought it was just a like 10-minute appointment to see someone and get started in the system. It was a over 2 hour like thing, and I didn't need to be there, but it's fine. I was doing okay, like I wasn't upset. They didn't know how much I knew about it or anything like that. But then there was one point where they got out a glucose meter, the little pin prick, finger prick, check your blood sugar level things. And I said, well, I already have one, so thanks, but don't waste it on me, give it to someone else. And she sort of said, we have heaps of funding and get heaps of these, so funding for gestational diabetes, so you can just have it. And I was like, I didn't want to. Like, surely that can go to someone else that needs it more. I already have one. And I can't even really use it because they only gave us like a couple of strips and like 5 or 10 finger prick things. And I now have to go buy more because it's a different style and brand to the one I have, which I have heaps of stuff for. So I'm like, I'm just going to keep using the one I have. Thanks. They then went through how to, we spent like 20-30 minutes on just how to prick our finger, and I'm just sitting there like, you just do this and prick, like, which was fine, but I was just, by this point I really needed to pee. I was in a lot of pain from my tailbone and I just wanted to go. And I started packing up, and then she goes, okay, now the nutritionist is going to be here at 11. The nutritionist dumbed stuff down so much, it was at this point that I got fed up with it. The rest was fine because like everyone else probably didn't know this, and like I couldn't be expected to know it already. But the nutritionist dumbed stuff down so much, I'm like, if you don't know this, why the hell are you having a child? There was one point where she wanted to know, I don't know, we were measuring some amount of serves in something, and she had 1 cup of cereal, but only half a cup was a serve. So she was like, how many serves of carbohydrates is in my 1 cup of cereal? And everyone was like 2. And then she was like, yes, because, and then it started explaining that there's 2 halves in a whole, and like holding up the 2 halves together so we could all see that there's 2 halves in a whole, and like she just started going into detail on the fact that there's 2 halves in a whole. And I'm sitting there like, pretty sure we all know this. We all answered 2 because we all know this stuff already. So I was just really confused why she was dumbing it down to like primary school level maths for a whole bunch of adults that are pregnant. Like, baby brain is bad, but it's not that bad. Anyway, but now I have a whole bunch of paperwork. I got given the NDSS registration form, form on understanding the NDSS, which is the National Diabetes Services Sector Scheme, which basically lets you get free of the little strips that test your blood, but not the needles that you still need to test your blood, which to me is pointless. We got this, which is a how to plate up, what your plate should look like. Obviously half your plate should be battery died. It's now raining, but as I was saying, half a plate of veggies, quarter a plate of proteiny things, and a quarter a plate of carbs. Healthy eating for gestational diabetes, little pamphlet booklet thing. I also got a vegetarian eating and pregnancy, because she said, anyone here a vegetarian? And I just put my hand up, because when you've been a vegetarian for 10 plus years, you sort of just habitually assume you're a vegetarian. And then she started talking about all this vegetarian stuff, and I'm sitting there like, I'm not even a vegetarian anymore. But I am still like, I eat meat now, but I still mostly eat vegetables. Like, I only really eat meat if it's a quarter chicken and chips, or if someone else is eating it and we're having like a shared meal or whatever. But I got a vegetarian pamphlet, and then I got these 2 things, and basically one is a blood glucose record. I can't really show you guys because it's got my details on it. I'll just cover those up. One is a blood glucose, stop, focus on the paper please, on the paper. One is blood glucose record, which we have to keep up until we give birth. And I'm starting early in pregnancy, so there is not enough lines in here for me. There's like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks. But obviously most people do their glucose test at around week 32. So that would be fine. That'd take them to week 41 and they'd be perfect. I'm week 15, so this, I'm gonna need more of this. I should probably have printed it out, but I don't even like using the paper versions. Like, I like the little booklets that you can actually take places, not a massive sheet of paper. But yeah, so I have to keep record of this. And basically the way I do that is, yes, the way I do that is when I wake up, first thing before I do anything, except I really needed to pee this morning, and I also have a toddler, so it's like, we technically woke up at 4:30 this morning, but we stayed in bed trying to get Hayden back to, well, I stayed in bed trying to get Hayden back to sleep from 4:30, and I'm like, should I have gotten up and taken my blood glucose then? Or was it okay to do it at 6:30 once I'd come out, peed, and then took, like, anyway. I was the only, like, second time mum in that group, and they really didn't account for having a toddler. Because yeah, that she was saying, like, before you get up to, if you pray, just go take your blood glucose, and then you can go prayer, and then you can go back to bed if you want. So they're saying wake up at 6:30, do your prayers, take your blood glucose and then go back to sleep. And I'm like, I would love to sleep until 6:30. That would be amazing. But I take my blood glucose first thing in the morning before breakfast. I eat breakfast. I then can't eat anything else from finishing breakfast for 2 hours, which is why I'm doing this video, to try and push it out a bit. So for 2 hours I can't eat a thing. If I desperately need to snack on something, I can have a handful of almonds or a carrot stick or two or some water. But that is it, because I need to get my blood glucose reading 2 hours after eating, and if I have something else to eat, it's obviously gonna like peak and then start coming back down, and then it's like I'm gonna put more food in and it's gonna have a little bump and it's not gonna be accurate. 2 hours after eating breakfast, I take my blood glucose, which I am due to do in half an hour. You can have a snack like an hour later, as long as you have 2 hours between your last snack and lunch. And I don't understand why, because we're not testing our levels right before lunch. We're testing them 2 hours after lunch. Only one person said it, and it doesn't say it on any of the paperwork. Only the nutritionist said it once, so I'm just like, no. What I'm doing is I'm having breakfast, I'm having a meal, waiting 2 hours, testing, and then between that test and my next meal is my eating window, and I'm going to eat in that window however I like. Well, not however, but like whenever I want to. And then obviously lunch, wait 2 hours of fasting, test, another eating window, dinner, 2 hours, test. And I have to eat a snack before bed, because I'm not allowed to fast for less than 8 hours or more than 10 hours. So obviously if I'm having dinner at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and I don't have breakfast until 6:30, 7 o'clock, I'm going to be fasting for closer to 12 hours, and I can't fast for more than 10. I can't focus with him making that sound. What are you doing? Put your hand out your mouth, you cheeky monkey. Sorry. Starvation hormone. What? You hungry? Yeah. Okay, we'll go get something in a second. They also are like, what if like yesterday, I am starting today because yesterday I went to start, and in that 2 hour time frame, Hayden was asleep when I had lunch. And then he woke up and had a quarter of a banana, and then didn't finish the banana, and I was out at a friend's house and I wasn't going to waste their banana, so I obviously had to finish their banana, and it's not as if you can put it aside, it's a banana. Go get something and bring it back here. A lot harder to do all this with a toddler. I test every day until birth, but for the next 4 days I'm doing this little extra sheet. I have to keep a food log, recording not so much, basically just recording carbs. I have to obviously write down everything I eat, but I only have to show measurements for anything with carbohydrates in it. So carbohydrates would be starchy things, sugary things, so potatoes, rice, breads, pastas, grains, all that sort of stuff, legumes, lentils, fruit, so anything fruity has natural sugars in it, such as fructose. So their fructose is a type, can get broken down into glucose, therefore it is a carbohydrate. Yogurt, apparently cheese we don't have to measure, but I'm sitting here like, I used to be lactose intolerant. I used to not be able to eat cheese because it contains lactose, which is a sugar. So wouldn't that mean it has carbohydrates in it? But apparently we don't measure cheese according to the dietitian. So we're not measuring cheese. Apparently it has no carbohydrates in it. But yeah, so today so far I've got 1 cup of full cream milk, which was 12 grams of carbs. I'm going specific. She went very broad and stuff like that, but I literally make food labels, like not properly, but at work quite often we have to, when we're experimenting or I can't find a label for something, I have to go through and make a label to print out, a nutrition label. So obviously I'm very aware of what's on nutrition labels, at least chocolate ones. But I measured out how much milk went in my Wheat Bix. It happened to be a cup perfectly, which also happened to be a serving size, which meant in the columns on the food labels, they generally have 100 mils or 100 grams, and then they'll have what they choose to be their serving size for their product, which on my milk perfectly happened to be 250 mils. So I was like, hey, perfect. I can look straight at the carbohydrates per serving size. Obviously, if I had a amount that wasn't the same as their serving size, I'd then have to look at the carbohydrate contents in 100 ml and then convert it to however much I had. So if they didn't have 250 as their serving size, I'd look at how much was in 100 ml and then times it by 2.5 to get how much is in 250 ml. So I had 1 cup of full cream milk, which is 12 grams of carbs, 2 Wheat Bix, which is 22.1 grams, and about, I can't measure honey because as soon as you put it in a measuring spoon, it sticks to the measuring spoon and you get less than what you put in the measuring spoon. And it's just, I just did a drizzle and looked at the serving size and it said 15 grams, which to me I think is a teaspoon. That's about a spoonful. I'll just go off their amount, which is 12.5 grams of carbs. Which is interesting. There must be stuff in honey that's not just sugar. In total for breakfast, I had 46.6 grams of carbs, which I then converted to serves by going 15 grams is 1 serve of carbs. 46.6 divided by 15 is 3.1, so I had 3.1 serves of carbs for breakfast this morning. This morning, my glucose was 5.5 millimoles, so actually no, I last ate with dinner. I didn't have a snack right before bed, so I went over the 10-hour fasting time. But yeah, obviously it has to be below 5 millimolar first thing in the morning. See what happens. It's hard because the first reading of the morning is a lot more to do with my metabolism and what my body's doing more than my diet. So it's like, if that's the only trouble spot, what the hell do I do to fix it, you know? I did get told that after dinner, right after dinner, I have to go for a 20 to 30 minute walk. It's pitch black, still raining quite often. I have a toddler that I have to get into bed. I feel like that's the problem they don't realize, is that I have a kid already. Like, we're just talking like, just do this, just do this, just do this. And I'm like, you can't just do this. It's not that simple. It's, you got to get your kid dressed, nappies ready, wipes ready, get them all rugged up, put the rain cover on the thing, blah, 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 go out for your walk, get sopping wet, have them screaming probably because that's not part of their routine. I mean, I could get it into his routine, but it's currently not. And then I got to come home, I'll be soaking wet, so I can't just put him to bed. I have to shower, I have to do all this extra stuff. Like, it's not just go do it, you know? So it's really frustrating, especially when all the other mums are just nodding along and I'm like, no. Like, enjoy the freedom to just do what you want when you want now, because you won't have it soon. Oh, no. I might be able to go for a walk tonight because we're staying at Luke's mum's for dinner. Check my new blood glucose levels. And I'll update you guys on how I go later. But that is my current... Oh right, this was actually a pregnancy update before it became a... Get off me for a second. I need to show everyone my belly, yo. So my belly is... trying to suck in. That's me just relax, but I'm trying to suck in usually because I'm still trying to hide the fact I'm actually pregnant. But yeah, this is my belly. It doesn't look that big, but then it's definitely like when you look at where my belly used to sit, it's like, yeah, it's sticking out now. But yeah, my belly button has already popped. It popped very early. It's now an outie, and it's already getting stretched to nothing. What, darling? You want a cuddle? Ah, you can have a cuddle. Come here, you. Ah. But yeah, so that's my belly bump date. I'm 15 weeks pregnant. For some reason, I keep saying 16. I know I'm not 16. But yeah, anyway. And that's it for the update. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this was slightly educational. Maybe I should do a video on what gestational diabetes is. Goodbye, peoples. See you in the next video. What? Shut. Duck. Duck.
No. Duck.
Pardon?
Duck.
Dad?
Yeah.
Dad.
Yeah.
Where's Dad? You can't ring Dad. Dad's at work. You're going to play the running game. Okay. Bye, peoples.